I'd say, Brenden, it's not just one thing, but the fact that certain hitters have come up big in certain spots is a huge driving force to what's happened over the last week and a half, right? Just those improvements at the plate.
Yeah, what the Cardinals are now getting offensively from, they've said 1 through 9. You could maybe nitpick a little bit and say there are still some guys that are not quite where they want to be. But largely, I mean, it's a lot more 1 through 9 than it was a couple of weeks ago at this point, where guys like Alec Burleson have emerged, and you feel like if he's in your number 5 spot in the lineup every day, you're like, okay, that's pretty good. He's got a 786 OPS now for the year. You feel nice about that. You feel great, incredible about what Mason Wynn is bringing to the table. He's been hitting for average all season long, but now you're starting to see a little pop from his bat. I still can't get over the home run swing from yesterday that he basically just golfed out to left field. His plate coverage is impressive, man. He can slap a double down the right field line and figure out a way to keep it steered in fair territory, and then he can turn around and do what he did yesterday and golf one out to left. His OPS now up to 780, batting average at 295. If not for Shota Imanaga, who I think the Cardinals will see this weekend, Mason Wynn would be really having a good conversation atop the Rookie of the Year discussion. I still think there are some other names that are going to be in the mix, but Mason Wynn, I mean, he continues to do what he's doing. You talk about elite defense at shortstop, an OPS, if he can push it closer to 800, hit maybe bat 300, and steal 20, 25 bases. That is a well-rounded game, and he is really coming to life for the Cardinals. And then there's other guys like Lars Nootbaar and Nolan Gorman are guys that for a while we said, oh my gosh, you kind of write them off. They have OPSs in the 500s, and they're just not producing. It seems like Lars Nootbaar is taking at least one walk every game lately. If not, he's coming up with a big RBI hit. Nolan Gorman, you're seeing a little bit more consistency from the power. He'll still have his strikeouts. But, yeah, I mean, I just talked about 4 or 5 different guys. That's kind of the nature of what it's been for the Cardinals. Sure, you want to see more from Arenado power-wise. Yes, you want to get Goldie going. But, I mean, the Cardinals are getting it done right now with other cast and crew from this lineup, and it's been a lot of fun to watch as the OPSs for the team rise from 500s, 600s to a lot of guys in the 700s now, which is a lot better of a place to be.
Yes, the middle has been rising to the top a little bit more, and that's what has happened for the Cardinals to at least have a lineup that you know you're not going to have a bunch of dead spots in like it seemed early in the season. Like, starting pitchers could navigate so well around the Cardinals lineup with how other guys were not stepping up and filling their roles. I don't know if it's necessarily, I don't think that's because Paul Goldschmidt has struggled, but it maybe is due to why when Goldschmidt started to come out of it a little bit, he hasn't necessarily emerged, as the same type of MVP player that we had seen him in the past, because they had more ways to maybe pitch around him, or other guys in the lineup weren't as threatening, and now that they are, I think that can allow Paul Goldschmidt, a guy like him, to maybe see more pitches that he knows how to deal with and can and not press as much and not have to think that it's just all on him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the mentality of a Goldschmidt is. I'd like to think that he's able to, and conversations, you hear the guy talk, you think he's able to take it one day at a time and truly not let those sorts of outside factors have an impact on him. But at the same time, you know the pedigree, you know your bank account, you know what you get paid every week. It's a lot on a guy to say, I've got to be the one to carry it. And when the team as a whole is not performing, it would be easy for a guy like Goldschmidt to look at that and say, yeah, I'm probably, if not the reason, I'm one of the biggest reasons at least to know why the team's not performing. That being said, though, you look at some of the pitches that Goldie has been getting out on, I still feel like that element of pressing is very much present in his game. Like he has not turned a corner. He is still struggling. Just to be totally clear, like OPS sub 600, he's not in a spot where he wants to be. And it's a lot of those kind of flailing at outside pitches, and sometimes it strikes in the zone that he just kind of swings through. So we'll see if he's able to find another gear. I think if he doesn't at some point over the next few weeks, at some point you do have to think, all right, what's it look like for Paul Goldschmidt to maybe not play every single day or to move down in the lineup? Like, if the Cardinals are in the mix, it's going to be more of a conversation than like last year. Adam Wainwright was obviously not healthy, not producing, all of those things, but they kept running him out there because he's a veteran player and he's trying to get 200 wins. And at a certain point, it just didn't matter for the Cardinals because they were cooked. well, if their season's not cooked, but Goldie is, they may have to make some adjustments there that they weren't really forced to reckon with Adam Wainwright. But I still think it's May, so I'm going to give Goldie some more time before I start saying, yeah, bench him for Burleson, have somebody else DH. For the time being, though, it is something that's in the back of your mind. If they do kind of fall off, right, offensively as a team, when it's a well-oiled machine, things are going good, you're not really worried about the couple guys that aren't producing, but he is still batting third. He is still kind of the guy that's supposed to be the engine for the offense. So we'll see how they handle that in the days and series and weeks ahead.
That's a tough decision, too, right? It's not very easy to try and maneuver Paul Goldschmidt's playing time based off of how he might be performing. If you are, in fact, in a playoff push, it's just, I don't know. I don't want to be the one to make that decision to say, hey, we need to sit Paul Goldschmidt a little bit more often than we would because we're maybe a few games up over 500 and we're trying to push for one of these playoff spots. I mean, it wouldn't seem like this is the type of team that you would have to make that type of decision with, but I guess here we are. It's been a weird start to the year for the Cardinals, and I guess we shouldn't bring anything off the table for the rest of the season. But it confounds my logic of how we've seen the Cardinals operate over the years.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's time to do it yet. And you can move him down like today, and they've done it. But then they moved him right back up to number 3, and he's kind of been toiling away there. He's hitting 211. His OPS is 594. But when you think about like Wynn, Nootbaar, Arenado, Burleson, Brendan Donovan, Nolan Gorman, all these guys have better OPS, better numbers than Paul Goldschmidt. So if you were to bat him 7th, it may look weird. It may be a weird sensation to write his name so low down in the lineup if you're Ollie Marmol. But I'd be fine with it starting right away just because I feel like, if anything, you could shake something loose with him and try to give him a different look. But if you're, 7th in OPS in the daily lineup, to be batting 3rd every day may be something that they have to think about. But to be clear, like we're spending a lot of time talking about it now, it's not something they have to really worry about this specific day and time, this specific week, because the offense at large has been doing its job. They've been a top 10 offense. If you look at all the various statistics over the past 15 days, that's kind of where they've been. And it's what we asked of them at the beginning of the season. And now that they're doing it, that's, I think, what has caused us to look at the Cardinals in a different way.
Give us your thoughts on the Cardinal offense, 875 KTGR here on the Big Show at 414. And, when we talk about Paul Goldschmidt moving up and down the lineup or what the Cardinals should do there, I kind of like Mason Wynn as the leadoff, at least for now, right?
Yeah, it looked good last night. Looked good yesterday afternoon, that's for sure. 2 for 4, hit the homer. I don't know,
maybe explore that a little bit more.
Well, and Donovan had a nice two, and Donovan couldn't come up with RBI hits too. He had 2 RBIs in the second game yesterday. He's a guy I like at the leadoff spot though too, and I wonder if with that whole notion of they like doing left, right, I think it's I understand why you do it, but it's kind of bogus if it's not working.
Couldn't you do Win 1?
Well, that's
Donovan 2.
No. I mean, Nootbaar is going to bat second. That's just what I was getting ready to say though. Is like.
Oh, okay. Because so you would have Nootbaar there.
Because they like that, Wynn batting first would actually reintroduce that concept. If you've got Goldie or Arenado, whoever batting third, then it's at least right, left, right. I don't know if you're extending that. Like, are you putting Gorman cleanup? I don't think that you want. Like, they've been willing to move younger players down in the lineup and maybe not the veterans struggling. That's sort of been the tenor of the way they've handled things. For me, though, I like Donovan Nootbaar batting 1-2. And obviously Wynn is doing a great job, too. I just am not sure if you don't bat Wynn all the way at the top, where do you find the spot to slot him in? It's been like he's batting way down at the bottom or he's all the way up to the top. I don't know. I think you could play with it a little bit if you want. They tried Lars Nootbaar at times batting third because they wanted to go left, right, left, and I just don't think that really works. I don't think Gorman batting third works. So maybe, you could flip it on its head, go Mason Wynn, and, Donovan doesn't care where he hits. He'll figure it out. He'll be fine wherever he is.
Thing. And, I mean, Wynn's your stolen base threat, too. And
it's a good point.
I mean, that's all the more reason to try and give him more at-bats, more chances to be on base. And it might seem a little bit – because I know Donovan has worked in that spot. I mean, and I get it.
His numbers are down a little, but generally I like him up there.
Generally, he has been a good leadoff hitter for the Cardinals, and I don't doubt that he would – be bad at it if they all of a sudden say, hey, you got to drop down, and then at some point that there comes a time where they have to bring him back up. I don't think he would lose that value as a leadoff hitter by putting him 5th or 6th. I mean, it's just, it's something that I think you can allow Mason Wynn a chance, depending on what his future could be with the Cardinals. That could be the role that he carves out for himself going forward.
Yeah, a little bit more traditional, too, in terms of, you mentioned stolen bases, and that's what we think about historically. Leadoff guy has good speed and makes contact, high average. But, they've looked at Brendan Donovan and said, look, whatever his speed is, which he did to have the Little League home run the other day, but generally he's going to get you on base. A walk is almost as good as a base hit, and in many cases it's exactly as good as a base hit, depending on anybody being on base or not. But Nootbaar, I like batting up there, and he's done a nice job up there. And Burleson's another left-handed bat, so you could think about, all right, how high do you want to move him up in the order? Like, there are ways to do it to get all these guys up there. But what's interesting is that they did do it with Wynn yesterday in a game where Donovan also started. Because before that, I think Wynn had only been moved up to the top when Donovan was on the bench and it was Gorman in the lineup. I could be wrong about that. But I think that is interesting that they're like, no, Donovan's playing. He's just not the leadoff man today. It's Mason Wynn. And if when he has a 2-for-4 game like that and scores a couple of runs, it wouldn't be that surprising to see Ollie Marmol maybe go back to that well more frequently. We'll see. But I think whatever you're doing with the lineup right now, it's not, you're right. You don't feel like it's just an absolute cavern in 7 of the 9 spots. It's almost maybe 3 spots at times where you're kind of iffy on it. Pedro Pajes hasn't done a lot as the catcher, but Ivan Herrera, when he's behind the plate, is a pretty good bat for you. We know Michael Ciani is, he's going to be your 9-hole batter, and if he's pushing for a 600 OPS, I think you can live with that. And then the guys in the middle, Arenado and Goldie, what does that look like? Arenado at least gets base hits, but he hasn't really been powerful. So, I don't know. I almost would like to see a lineup where you move both those guys down and really shake it up, but I don't know that Ollie Marmol is going to be inclined to do that right now while things are going so well. So, you just might ride the hot streak and kind of keep it simple, stupid. Don't do too much to try and change something that's already presently working for the first time all year.
So give us your Cardinals thoughts, 875-KTGR here on the Big Show at 418. Paul is here on the KTGR hotline now. Paul, what you got?
Hey, guys. As far as the manager goes, when they had the losing streak, I'm not the biggest fan of the manager, but apparently the players must like him because they've done well since the losing streak. So I think that bodes well for the rest of the year, hopefully. And we have hope now that, I think, since the last thing. But my question is to Brenden is, since Matz is out, have they decided on who's going to take his place in the pitching staff? Because, like you said, Liberatore should be a reliever, not a starter. And I think you're spot on that.
Appreciate the call, Paul, here on the Big Show KTGR. I think Libby's back in that spot, it would seem, right?
It's kind of like a week-by-week basis still, but I expect him to start
Which I hate.
Saturday.
I think that's worse than either scenario.
Yeah.
Of him being a starter or reliever. So
yeah, I'm not fond of it either, and I think they would be best served to just make a decision. But, I guess if their standing decision is it's still going to be Libby, then, that in and of itself is a decision, but it seems like they're not announcing it, right? Like they're still listed as TBD. I just checked the team website as we're talking here. It's still listed officially TBD for Saturday. We'll know by tomorrow, but he threw a bullpen session on Wednesday that would indicate he's going to be set up to go for the game Saturday. They're kind of dancing around it, but like you said, it's weird to dance around it. Just make a decision. So they've done this for a few turns through the rotation with Steven Matz out. I don't know that Matz is imminently returning either, so it's not going to be a problem that goes away. To me, I would do a call-up. I would call up Palante, or I would make a move to put Graceffo on the 40-man, and I would do it. Especially, all right, Saturday's going to happen with Libby. If it doesn't go well, then it's very clear you just need to probably change course. This was an ill-fated attempt from the beginning when you're taking a guy who's not built up to start and then just trying to do it on the fly. I don't think it's been successful. He does have really rough numbers against right-handed batters. If I'm the Cubs, I'm stacking every righty against him on Saturday and just letting the chips fall where they may. But, yeah, I think Graceffo is a guy that, you might as well find out about at a certain point before he has to go to he's going to be Rule 5 eligible soon anyway. So see what he's about. Maybe he can unlock something at the major league level that's just been a little bit dormant in the minors. Is it likely? I don't know. but I think you're looking for 5 innings and 3 runs. That's all you really need from that 5 spot. And maybe Graceffo is a guy that can give it to you. I certainly think Palante, it might not be pretty, but is a guy that could give that to you every 5th day. Whereas right now, Liberatore, I think it's either too many holes in his game where whatever it is against right-handed batters, he's not able to adjust right now, or you could just take it at face value of they didn't have him built up and they thought it was going to be successful, even though he wasn't able to go 95, 100 pitches. It's just not fair to Liberatore in that spot. And he was doing well as a reliever, so you've basically tanked all of his momentum by making this move. So generally, I'm going to let Saturday play out. But if it doesn't go well Saturday, I don't understand why. Like, announce it that day. Just say, yeah, we're going to move Libby to the bullpen. Where you can do messaging that's not ripping a player, right? They seem clueless at times for how to approach these matters. Just need a little bit of a PR bump of, hey, we really love Liberatore and what he brings in the bullpen, and we think that's going to make our team so much better. And we're going to give somebody in Memphis who's really been working for their opportunity a chance. It's all you have to say. It's all you have to do. And yet we're weeks and weeks into this and we haven't seen it. So I think that's Saturday. I think it will be Libby unless something changes. But after that, if it's not going well, just make a roster move. It's okay. You can make a roster move. That's why those guys in AAA are there, for depth for the big league club.
Yes. And I just don't like what it would do to Libby mentally when you put him back into this rotation spot, when you know that should he be a starter, should he be a reliever, it just puts more pressure on him. And it's just, if he's in that spot again Saturday, I foresee nothing more than just him struggling to get through 4 innings again. Like, that's just what you're going to sign up for, I feel like, if you make that happen. So, I mean, if he proves me wrong, great. And the Cardinals have a solid starting option that they can turn to, possibly going forward, if it means he's more efficient with his pitches against a team like the Cubs that will be ready for him and knows how to hit against him. I mean, then it'd be icing on the cake. But I just think that's the road that we're going down here, is that the Cardinals eventually have to fess up and say, okay, fine, we're wrong on this. Let's bring somebody up. And I just wish they would have made that decision earlier with Matthew Liberatore.
I mean, I wish if they were going to have Libby try to be a starter, they would have allowed him to go build up. But at the same time as he was getting that shot, Zach Thompson was in the minors trying to build up. Palante was trying to build up. Maybe they didn't want to rush Sem Robertson. And the first time he pitched, he had the 50-pitch outing. Liberatore went like 3 2/3 and was really efficient, really good. And it's been like trying to chase their tail on finding that version of him again the last 2 times. And I don't know why he can't throw 95 as a starter when he does it as a reliever. I don't know why it's 92 instead. I don't know why he conserves the energy. The Cardinals would do well to try and find that out because, again, I don't think that I would damn Liberatore to an eternity of only being a relief pitcher. I just think that the way this was set up, it was destined to maybe have some question marks surrounding it. And the fact that the Cardinals haven't already made a move either suggests they're really having a lot of faith in Liberatore, which is not what I think it is, because if it was that, they would just say, yeah, he's in the rotation. Why do you guys keep asking me? Instead, they keep feeding into it by not announcing a starter until the day before. It's just an absolute PR nightmare, and there's no reason to continue doing it that way if you had ultimate faith in him. The reality is they probably don't. They're probably looking at outside the organization, like a Brad Keller. Like maybe they're trying to make moves like that or considering them, and that's why they've just said as little as possible about the Libby stuff. But if that's what you're doing, and that's how desperate you are to find something, is you're considering all options outside the org, that's a huge indictment on what you internally feel about your AAA rotation. I'm not saying those guys all stink. I'm saying the Cardinals are saying they aren't any good.
The Cardinals are saying
they don't have any faith in them. Otherwise, they would have said, oh, yeah, having Liberatore as a really good lefty reliever instead of a mediocre to subpar starter, and then being able to slot in another starter who might be mediocre himself, but at least you're getting a great boost to your bullpen with what Libby was giving you, and you're finally getting something for the Arozarena deal. Like, it just hasn't made sense the way they've handled him. And I'm not predicting anything for Saturday. He could be great Saturday. Wouldn't surprise me. City Connect uniforms, a lot of fun, a lot of people in the ballpark. It's going to be a packed house. But if it goes badly one more time, they can't possibly run it back for an additional turn through. I just don't see it.
Yeah, that's the trouble here. So can they get it done with Matthew Liberatore on Saturday? We'll certainly find out. 875-KTGR. Call or text us with your thoughts on the Cardinals as they get set for their series with the Cubs. We'll talk more about the Cardinals and Royals, their percentage